Okay, hi everyone, my name is Brian. It's a silly question, but I'm going to have to ask it. How many of you know Lean Startup, right? Okay, so how the group? So I did it in a very different way. If you really know Lean Startup, then some of the terminologies you probably know about it, right? But I'll always ask myself, do you really think what's a Lean Startup is really new to the world? The answer is no, right? It's made up of a lot of ancient wisdom, repackaged it in a different form, right? So, and I know that because when I talked to some Chinese businessman and he told me, you know, what you're doing, we did it long time ago. Before we start any business, we shake hands first. We make sure there's business, then I start my company. There's no such thing, I start a company and I find customers. I always find customers first, then I do the company. So when he said that to me, I realized, hey, yeah, there's a lot of ancient traditional wisdom, right? So I turned this session Lean Startup Proverbs. Right? First time doing it, never done it before, fresh off the oven, use Citibank's time and money to help me to do this. I'm currently working in Citibank, business transformation. I sold my last startup, in which actually Michael was one of those that I pitched the idea to. Right? We sold it last year. And then I moved on to Citibank because they're saying, how do we become more startup-ish, right? And they say, can you come in and help us out? So I've been doing that for the past 5 months. So, this on. Alright, so that's everything about me. I said most of it, and I do mentoring, I do events, I do quite a bit of it. And I think Startup Weekend is starting, so Derwin is behind and team, right? So if you want to know about Startup Weekend, awesome, they're going to do it here. That's the last thing I heard, so let's do some pitching here, right? So join that one, because that's where his startup came from, right? And then after that, you can join Lean Startup Weekend. Okay? So let's start. Before we can talk about Lean Startup, you got to ask yourself, what is a startup in the first place, right? So I went to Investopedia many years ago. I suspect they have changed it, but 3 years ago when they did this was there, right? It says a company, first stage of operations, initially bankroll, they believe something for which there is a demand, right? And that's not what it really is, right? Because it says that something is there when actually it may not be there. What? That first is a startup, a company, they're already developing a product, and they believe that there is demand. Those are everything that Lean Startup tell you that is not. Right? So the next question you're going to ask me, so what's a startup, Brian, since you're so smart? Right? But thank you, I'm not so smart because Steve Blank, who is the father of Lean Startup, came up with this definition of a startup. Love it. He says it's a temporary organization built to search for what will work. Right? What is working, repeatable, scalable, and this very part is what distinguishes a tech startup from a business. This repeatability, this scalability is what makes a tech startup, and now of course the cryptocurrency startups, right, very high and very fast before you're running out of resources. So this definition, remember it because it's key. It is this thing that drives startup founders to move as fast as we can because we are afraid of running out of resources. But more important is because we're searching for answers. So, now that we know startup, then what's the meaning of lean? So lean, where does the word come from? It came from the roots of lean engineering, right? So lean engineering came from the Toyota way, right? So what does lean engineering at that point in time? So it's very simple. Lean just means no waste. You're just trying to reduce waste. Lean is not about cheap. It's got nothing to do with cheap. It's about what is not necessary, don't do it. Do that which is the most important at this point in time. Right? So what's a big waste when you're just starting off a startup? Assuming I know what the customer wants. What's another big waste? I know what features to build. That's another one, right? And the third one, traditional business plans, presume no trials and no errors. My first startup, the one that I ever did, right? I just came up from MBA, finished it up, did it with my best friend, we wrote a business plan, 40-page long, put our hands on it and say, we will keep to this business plan. The moment we launched, everything went out through the window, right? And it's actually in our constitution, we will follow the business plan, right? That's crazy. But I did everything my MBA told me. And guess what happened to my first startup? May I guess? What do you think happened to it? Failed, right? So I went back to MBA school and said, you didn't teach me anything much. They were very angry with me, right? So principles of Lean Startup, but using age-old sayings. So this is where I'm going to spice things up from my usual Lean Startup presentation. So what do I mean by age-old saying? Like this: a fall into a ditch makes you wiser. And that simply means, yeah, failure is going to make you wiser. It's the prerequisite to
being able to do lean startup in the first place. Right? A diamond cannot be polished without friction. Even the man perfected without trials. Missing something. Not the man perfected without trials. Right? So what is failure? First attempt in learning. That's all that it is. I think a lot of people now starting to know this term. Right? When I first realized this word, first attempt in learning, it absolutely encapsulates the meaning of fail in lean startup. It's got nothing to do with an emotional state. It's got nothing to do with whether you have succeeded or failed in the traditional sense. It just simply means when I fail, have you learned enough to do the next thing? Right? So first principle of lean startup, failure is an integral part of the search. Fail early, learn early, right? Rather than fail late, learn late. Okay? Next one. Who is not satisfied with himself will grow. Who is not sure of his own correctness will learn. Whoever is not sure of his own correctness will learn. Which principle do you think this lean startup thing is, right? It's build, measure, and learn. We are full of assumptions. Every time we start a startup, we start off with a basic set of assumptions. Those who have done it before, their set of assumptions are way closer to what would actually work in reality. For those who have not done it before, their assumptions could be a bit further off. And that's the reason why we test. So the next one here is, the next principle of lean startup, design experiments and test to validate your hypotheses. What's this model that they have done? And the author is of Lean Startup over that book there is Eric Ries. Right? So he coined up with this term called build, measure, and learn. You build a minimum viable product, the smallest thing that you can do, to measure what the customer wants, and you get data, and then you learn to get more ideas, right? So, one cycle like this, a build, measure, learn cycle, is an experiment. And I guarantee you, there are a lot who have built something, measured something, and then they call it an experiment. It's not yet an experiment if you have not learned anything. There's a lot of vanity experiments going out there in the startup world. We have done 50 experiments, but what have you learned from those 50? Not sure. CEO has never seen it, co-founders don't even know about it, everybody has never reviewed it. It's just somebody who's done a bunch of A, B, C testing, and they have a bunch of data, but nobody ever looks at it. So it's important to build, measure, learn, and that's one experiment. So this is something like a Kanban board, hypothesis, experiment, you get your evidence, insight, and action. One part of it is called build. How do you build your experiment? This is, after so many years of doing this, I thought this was the easiest way to just build one experiment. If I do X, Y will do Z because of star. If I do something, this customer segment, percentage of this customer segment will do this action. It's a behavior. We're not asking for opinions, we want to see actual behavior. If I change this button, percentage of these customers will click on it, right? So you want to see that. And then, but why? Because of this assumption I'm making. I've got this special hypothesis, this belief system that I have. Pink color, people love pink. They're going to click on this button a lot more, right? So in this one statement, it's actually an experiment. Then build. Then the next part is measure. Some other sayings, a 1-inch error at the start can be 1,000 miles at the end. Right? So what if you made an error in the beginning, slowly grows. If in the beginning you never measured anything, you will never know what is happening with your startup. Before long you realize, oh shoots, things are all falling apart. Love this one. Before you buy shoes, measure your feet, right? So again, another interesting saying. Before you do any action for your startup, how are you going to measure what the customers are going to do? How do you know that there's something that they want you to do for them, right? And then next part is learn. Learn is the toughest bit. You build an experiment, you found out what the customers want, you got some data. But learning, what's learning, right? It's validated learning. Many people learn a lot of stuff, but not about the customers. They learn about themselves, they learn about maybe how to do the UI better. But when we say learning in Lean Startup, it means validated learning with the customer. This is very powerful. So when I was doing Stack at that point in time, anytime that my team, we get into an argument, right? It should be this, it should be that. And the first thing I'll tell them that after 15 minutes of this should be this. You know what? Let's just go. And we will literally get out of the building, go talk to customers, and we all come back and realize we are all wrong. We are all wrong. Because we all have opinions, it wasn't until we actually talked to the customers that we realized what they want. Right? Next principle. Falling hurts least those who fly. Yeah. Those who fly update virus protection. No. Okay, so falling hurts least those who fly low. There's a lot of wisdom in this one, right? A lot of startups aim to fly high, right? Get our product perfect, get everything going. We will not launch until our branding is right, our marketing is right, our sales is right, everything is all set up. They wait for perfection before starting, and it takes so long. That's why Eric Ries came up with the term of minimum viable product, right? He says, what's the fastest, smallest thing that you can do to learn about a customer right now? Right? What's the smallest thing that you can do? And so he defined this. MVP is the fastest way to achieve validated learning, remember, about the customer with the least effort. So examples of MVPs, of course, you can go out there, talk to customers with prototypes, right? You can do, now a lot of these things, I'm not going to cover really in depth, just because I'm only given 20 minutes, okay? And we are so I'm going to give you all these things. You're free to take pictures, do whatever you want, and find it online. You can do a concierge MVP. What concierge means is that instead of having to create an app, the human being does the work itself, and the customer know you are delivering it, right? And so when they started RedMart, right, Roger went out there as a delivery person himself, discovered that all the things that he was carrying were all heavy stuff, right? Bulky, heavy stuff. And he realized that the person receiving it were all very small little housewives, right, sitting at home. And that's when he realized, first thing on RedMart, all we're going to do feature front end is bulky items. Okay? Then there's another type of MVP, minimum viable product, which is Wizard of Oz MVP. So if you remember the story of Wizard of Oz, is where there was this small guy sitting in there and he was moving and manipulating the king's head, the old man's head, right? The Wizard of Oz. So when Dorothy and gang came and see him, they realized the wizard wasn't as scary, because actually it was just an old person behind. Nothing wrong with old, okay? Nothing wrong with old. It's got nothing to do with the old. It's just that somebody is manipulating things in the back end, right? So that's how Zappos started. It's a really old story, but that's how they started. Was when the Zappos started. Tony's here, right? Tony actually sold shoes without having a single inventory. All that he did was took pictures of the shoes at the retailers downstairs, put it up on the website, and then tested out who people buy shoes online because they can't try it on. So every time there was an order, he just went downstairs, bought the shoes, wrapped it up, and sent it out. He made a loss actually, but from that he realized, yeah, people can and people want to buy shoes online, right? And so he actually sold shoes without inventory. But for the customers who bought online, they were assuming the whole time that he had inventory, right? Whereas actually he didn't have that. Alright, so another proverb, right? The emperor is rich, but he cannot buy one extra year. And this is interesting again. Why? Because startups, all that we have is time. All that we have, the age that we have is time. We are competing not just against ourselves, but also against the market and against competitors, right? So when you look at traditional development, they have sort of a build, measure, learn cycle, right? It's build, measure, and learn, but it's over one calendar year, 6 months. But when you look at lean startup, we are saying, and it's faster than that. In fact, my experiments were weekly, right? Some were even like 3 or 4 days. I can't draw so small the circles, right? But this is representative. Think about this. Why is this important? If you were doing this build, measure, and learn once a year, how many times do you get to learn? Once. If I do this 12 times, every month I do once, how many times do you get to learn? 12. If I do it once a week, how many times do you get to learn in 1 year? Awesome. Now who do you think is going to get closer to the bullseye? The one who gets more arrows to shoot, right? If I got more tries, even if I'm not an expert archer, sooner or later I will hit bullseye. Right? Not to say, well, now whether can you repeat it, can you scale it, it's a separate story, right? But definitely after 52 times, you'll be better archer than if you only had one arrow to shoot. There were some smart aleck people who are in my audience before who say that, isn't this a waste, 52 arrows? Right? No, because these are all the smallest minimum viable products, right? The smaller things that you can do to get to the market. Next one, love this one, right? A single conversation with a wise person is worth a month's study of books. Think about this. How much time do you spend talking about the plan? How much time do you spend thinking about your logo, your name card, about the name of your company? Think about all the time that you spend trying to figure out what to do, who's a perfect customer, how much money you want to make. And think about it, you're laughing like crazy, right? When actually, what if you had just gotten out of the building and talked to the customer? What would you get from that? So that's another principle in Lean Startup. There are no facts inside your building. Get outside, right? He who asks a question is a fool for just 5 minutes, right? But he who does not ask a question is a fool forever. You see, I've gone out to do at least 200 off-the-street interviews. I've done it B2B, I've done it B2C. I've talked to many customers, trained a lot of people. And it's always the same thing. The moment you talk to a customer, you open up your eyes, it's like, oh my goodness, there's something you've said here I never realized. Never heard it before. They just blew your mind. All because the customer is wiser than you. Are you willing to admit that? Now, of course, some people will then say, Steve Jobs said that I know better than the customer, right? Now, can I ask humbly, how many here is actually Steve Jobs? Just wondering, right? I'm quite sure I'm not. I may not have the intuition of Steve Jobs. He paid a lot. He paid a price, right? He was outselling his own computers when he first started. I'm quite sure he did that, door to door, he did it too. And then he got ousted from his company, he went to final place of meditation, came back more enlightened, took over the company. There's a price that he paid for that level of intuition. Most average people who have never paid that price. We probably worked in a company and then decided to do a startup. So my recommendation, right, very highly, is go talk to customers. You will feel like a fool for the 5 minutes. Because the customer's going to tell you everything. You'll be like, oh, I didn't know about this. It's very embarrassing. It's tough talking to customers because they are impatient, they want to know what you're doing and all that. There is a technique to do it. But you feel like, oh, I'm so humbled, right, by what you're just saying. But imagine if you didn't know that and then you spent a whole boatload of money, launched it, and nobody actually wants it. Yeah, that foolishness lasts for quite a long time. Okay? Next principle. Customers are jade. Merchandise is grass. Oh, love this one. How many of you here really focus on product? Product must be awesome, product must be awesome. But we spend so much time thinking about the product, we forgot about the customers. That they are the ones who actually use it. Right? So user experience and all those are important. Right? But more than that, when you are just starting off in startup, just in the beginning, this is a group of people you want to find. Your early adopters. Right? So another principle of Lean Startup, find your cookie monsters, in other words, early adopters, first before thinking of reaching the mass market. But who are cookie monsters? First, who doesn't know what a cookie monster is? It's starting to reach a point where there are not a lot of people who know cookie monsters. I'm serious about it. I've done a lot of these courses, at least there will be 4 or 5 people who are like, what's a cookie monster? Who doesn't know a cookie monster? You don't know, right? It's okay, it's totally fine, because they may not be in your country, but I'm about to show you what a cookie monster looks like. This is a cookie monster. See? He loves cookie, right? So when he sees a cookie, what does he say? Come on. What? No. Cookies! Right? Nom is after he says cookie, right? No. You're watching the wrong cartoon, right? No, my daughter is now watching this cut the rope frog, right? So she's watching the cartoon, nom. Right? So it's highly funny, but cookie monster. When you show him a cookie, what does he do? I want cookies! That's all I ever want. Do you think the rest of them will want the cookies for the Sesame Street characters? No, right? So, again, another proverb. Make happy those who are near, and those who are far will come. If these customers are already, they really want this, why are you always focusing on somebody else besides them? Focus on making them raving fans. Love your product, absolutely. The first 10 raving fans is better than 100 mediocre, not really interested in your product customers. Those first 10, wow, awesome. Then you get that 10 to be 100, even better, right? And then you get 1,000 raving fans. I tell you, it's crazy what happens after that. Okay? And so, make happy those who are near, find your cookie monsters. What do early adopters want? Get their problem solved. They're willing to pay to get their problem solved. The rest of the gang, you're going to have to try and convince them why a cookie works for Elmo, right? For, what's his name? Ernie Bird, right? You have to convince them. But Cookie Monster, oh, I know a cookie. I definitely want a cookie. This is a product I will want. I will pay you to get a cookie, right? Next principle, the snake which cannot cast its skin has to die. Okay, so let's test. Those who don't lean startup read about it, which word do you think I'm about to use right now? The snake which cannot cast its skin has to die. That sounds ominous, right? But it's a lean startup word. Everybody uses it all the time. It's the word pivot. Right? You got to pivot. Right? When things don't work, the startup that refuses to change will perish, right? Pivot. Make continuous iterations and pivots. That's what the next principle of lean startup is. And don't stand by the water and long for fish. Go home and weave a net. If we are not working, it's not working, stop wishing for things to work. Go find another way to do it. Why is this pivot important? Because when you build, you measure, and then you learn. And what if you learn that, no, customers don't want this, this is not going to work. You're going to go home and cry? Obviously not, right? You got a choice. Either you persevere, try one more time, another experiment, confirm what you learn, or you can choose a pivot. And what is a pivot? It's a change in your business model without a change in vision. And this is really, really key, right? A pivot is not just any willy-nilly change that you want to make. That's why it's called a pivot. It's one leg in your vision and the other leg moving around, exactly as how you do a basketball game, right? When you take a ball, you're always moving around trying to find the best place to go, right? And so it's a change in your business model without a change in vision. For those who are asking what's the business model, the best thing to do, look at the 9 segments in the business model canvas and you'll be able to get there. Alright, so I did it in 20. Alright, what I'm trying to show you is that if you look at some of these learnings in Lean Startup, you'll find that it's actually been there for some time, right? It's just that it's repackaged into simpler vernacular. Everybody can say it at the same time. Okay? But it also shows that there's a lot for us to learn. Guess what? This wisdom has been there for some time and we keep making the same old mistakes. That's why Eric has to write a new book, repackage everything. Now everybody's like, oh, this is awesome, right? What happens is no point learning all this if you're not going to put it into action. So I think the next part of it will be where you get to hear how Lean Startup actually helped and you are trying to pitch an investor. Right? For me, it was very helpful when I went to investors and I got a stack of contracts in my hand and to show, right? Which is what I did with Michael, right? But he had other factors to decide, right? Such as the composition of my team, and I'm willing to share that too, right? In my case here, my co-founder was working full-time. It was an issue also for a lot of investors, and some other investors were willing. Some other investors believe very strongly that the co-founders should work together, right? And I can share my story later about that. But none of them can say that I didn't talk to customers. None of them can say I didn't know, I didn't have customers waiting for my product. They couldn't do that, okay? So I had that. Right? So, I'm not saying that if you do Lean Startup, all the investors are going to line up in front of you. Yeah. But it solves a really big component and a big doubt in their head. So if you learn, let it be part of you. Always be listening to your customers. Lean is important, but growth mindset is important. What's a growth mindset, right? Always learning, never blaming. I tell you, if I can leave you all with something, when you do a startup, wins are far and few in between. And you always got this propensity to try and blame something. It could be an employee, it could be your co-founder, it could be someone. It will die very quickly if you keep doing that. Forget about the blame. Just learn and keep moving forward. Right? So that's what I want you to do. Success. Right? And you can contact me here. Okay? Thank you.